Live. Hey everybody, 3Rail Tom here, and I have something very special to show you if you haven't seen it already. I was very excited to see this, but this is the Atlas O Premier Catalog for Spring 2022. And the reason why I was so excited to see this was because I was hoping that Atlas was going to come out with something pretty sweet in their lineup. But without ruining surprise, let's go into this. And I'm also going to go over something that I see a lot on the forums, the Facebook groups, like the OGR forum, etc. And I think a lot of people have misconception of what Atlas is doing with MTH's old tooling and what their engines will actually have if they were to go purchase one. So let's go dive into that, and I'm also going to cover a few things that I'm looking to purchase myself. So let's get started. Kind of give you a hint of the first thing that is in this catalog, but it is the SD70s that should look very familiar from an MTH catalog. These are old MTH tooling SD70s, both the SD70M-2 and the SD70ACE. And let me start by saying that Atlas O has a number of lines now, especially since they've taken on the MTH tooling. And it basically goes over like from, somewhat detailed of a model to like top of the line, separately applied details, like take it out of the box and you may break it kind of detail. Anything that you see with Atlas O Premier identifies something that was an ex-MTH model, at least for current time, unless they decide to change their minds. But if you see Atlas O Premier, you should be assuming that that is the exact same model as whatever MTH had as a Premier model. So these SD70M-2s and the SD70ACEs, these are MTH SD70s. And the paint schemes have been done by MTH in the past, some of them. Others are brand new. But one thing that's real exciting is now that Atlas has taken on a lot of the MTH tooling, they're going to be doing a lot more prototypical paint schemes. And Atlas always pays very fine attention to these details when they're doing their paint schemes. So something that, not to say that MTH would have dropped the ball on every single time, but something that MTH may have dropped the ball on, Atlas most likely is not going to drop the ball on. They really shoot for accuracy when it comes to prototypes. So to go back into this SD70, it has ProtoSound 3.0, which means that if you have an existing DCS system or you're able to control your Rail King or Premier engines from MTH with the remote, it'll work with this model. And Atlas is offering this in both a 2-rail and a 3-rail model. So the 3-rail models will have separate pilots, as you can see. And then the 2-rail models will have fixed pilots, but different wheels and no pickup rollers. If they follow the same convention as like the MTH units, you should be able to convert them one way or the other. But you may be limited if you get like a 2-rail model and try to convert it to 3-rail. You may be limited on like the operating curve that you can use. But as you can see, the SD70M2, there's only 3 models they're going to be doing with paint schemes. The Canadian National with a GT Heritage, the Canadian National and IPO 25-year unit, and Vermont Rail System. And then the rest of the models that they're offering are actually the SD70 ACEs. I believe MTH did these in the past, but hopefully Atlas can nail down the actual colors. My understanding is that the MTH ones were definitely not as representative of the pictures. So let's cross our fingers and hope that Atlas gets these colors right. But anyway, they're going to be doing the Canadian Pacific in 3 paint schemes, one being Army Green, one being like an Air Force Gray, and a World War II paint scheme that's like a camouflage look. And then what I liked about this page is there's still SD70 ACEs, but this goes into a lot more of the prototypical paint schemes of what we would see here in the States. But it also covers one road name that you don't see very often, and that's Ferromax. Sometimes you see them if they are on long shot hauls and they're just leasing out the equipment. Or if you're in Central America, you probably see these pretty often. But in O-Gauge, there's really not much Ferromax stuff out there. So this is pretty cool to see. And then I know a lot of people love this. Thank you to the Essential Workers paint scheme, the Montana Rail Link. I think this is going to be a very popular paint scheme as well. And then the rest of them are kind of standard paint schemes. Like I know this KCS, the Essential Workers one, that may be a hit, but they have made KCS models in the past. And then, of course, they have beaten to death the Union Pacific, the BNSF, and the Norfolk Southern paint scheme. So if you missed your chance on any of the previous models, you can always get one of the ones that have been recycled. But you also have an opportunity to get some really cool paint schemes. It's very tempting to get this Ferromax one just because they don't offer it that often. And then I want to go into just some of the pricing and whatnot. So if you see here, the MSRP is $649.95, and that's for both the M2 and the ACE. Now, of course, they say there's something changed due to the board availability and cost. If you were to assume that these prices were fixed from Atlas, you could probably bet on paying maybe 10 to 15% less if you have a good dealer. I'm going to be going through Roundhouse South in Florida, where I'm from, and Tony is a great guy to deal with, and he's going to be doing a lot of the pre-orders for me. I'm not going to be pre-ordering any of these engines as of right now, but if you're looking for a good dealer, definitely recommend Tony down at Roundhouse South. But anyway, so these prices are really reflective of MSRP. You'll probably get a discount depending on your dealer. And of course, the part numbers correspond with the road numbers that'll be painted on the engine. Now, if we go to the second page, you'll see that there actually is the same information with the exception of right here, the two-rail item. So this is what I was talking about, that if you're going to be looking for a two-rail model, or if you're looking for fixed pilots and you're going to convert it over to a three-rail engine, you may want to look at these part numbers and make sure that you're not ordering the wrong one. Or vice versa, you're a two-rail guy and you end up buying a three-rail model by accident. So just be wary of that. And the MSRPs as of right now are still the same. I know in the past some of the fixed pilot models were a little bit more expensive, and you'll see as we get farther down that they actually do charge two different prices for some of the rolling stock. But it looks like that the engines as of right now are priced the same, which is a good thing. Just pay attention to the item number if you're going to pre-order with your dealer. Moving onward, we have the Premier S2 Locomotive. Again, this is an MTH model that Atlas was able to pick up the tooling for. And the one thing that I like about these are they were very, very well popular at the time when MTH was doing these. And I'm kicking myself in the butt for not buying a Long Island Railroad one. Hint, hint, Atlas, you may want to do a Long Island run next time. But these are actually incredibly detailed models. They were great runners. And if you can find them in a road name that you like, you won't have any issues with them. These are very simple, and I honestly, if I could afford to pay for one of these right now and get it painted into a Long Island paint scheme, I would probably do it. But anyway, so these are the MTH models that are now going to have an Atlas name on them. Again, equipped with Protosound 3.0. And you'll notice that there are some road names in here that are recycled, but a lot of these are actually new that I have not seen done before. Now, what you'll see is we have the Alaska Railroad, Atlantic Coastline, Erie Lackawanna. I have not seen this New York Central System one, which is really nice. And I kind of want to buy it, but I don't have too much New York Central System stuff in my fleet, so probably going to have to pass. But then they also have a UP in the Western Pacific. Now, they are only offering this in three-rail. And I don't know if that is because the model doesn't allow for two-rail or MTH developed this to only be a three-rail model, but just keep this in mind that if you're a two-rail guy, that this will not work with your two-rail system. You can't convert it, as to my knowledge. But for you three-rail guys, you're in luck. Now, if you look at the pricing, they're looking at $619.95. I know that that's probably a shocker. You're like, why would you pay that much for a switcher? If you look at Lionel's pricing for a comparable switcher, they're more expensive. So just keep that in mind that, although these are $619.95, you're probably going to get a little bit of a discount from your dealer. And ideally, you don't have to worry about the typical hassle with, okay, I can't get a legacy system right now because of trip shortages and people want over $1,000 for the existing legacy system just because they're coming out with their new system. So keep all this stuff in mind. You're always going to get a very reliable engine from MTH, and now that Atlas has kind of absorbed that product line, I could say the same exact thing. It's just a different name. And Atlas won't put their name on something if it's going to be garbage. So those were the engines. Now the next thing that's in this catalog that was an ex-MTH model is these log dump cars. Now they say it's a new Atlas O model, but it was the MTH models, and it's only 3-rail again, so you can't use this for a 2-rail setup. And if you look at these names, a lot of them are familiar from what we just had above, especially the Western Pacific, the Union Pacific, the Erie Lackawanna, the ACL, and the Alaska, and then the P&LE one probably is going to end up going with this New York Central System one because you do see that there's a P&LE logo on it. So I believe that Atlas is trying to pair these cars with the switcher engines. So you can build yourself a nice little set with basically, I think they have 4 different road numbers of these. Let's check. Yeah, so 4 different road numbers. So you can buy 4 of these, pull them behind the switcher, and if you have an existing caboose, or maybe Atlas will release a caboose in the future. But you can have a nice small set that it'll look very good and have matching cars. I love that they're doing 4 road numbers here, because if you ever bought something from MTH, they usually only did 1 or 2 road numbers per car. And the only way that you can get multiple road numbers aside from that was if you got like the I'm going to call them blister packs, or if they had like a 4-car set, a 6-car set, whatever they may be. But if you want to have 456 and 458, you can. If you want 450 and 458, you can. You can choose whatever road numbers you want, and have a longer train than if you were to just buy the 2 cars when MTH released them. Again, these are operating, so they show it with the log load. The logs are included, and they will actually dump the log load. The little the side fence will fold down, and it's kind of like Lionel's operating cars, but these look a little bit more detailed. Moving onward, they have the Premier 40-foot PS1 box car. Atlas has done these before. And I believe they have the, I have to check this actually. It's Seaboard Atlas O PS4 or PS1 box car. PS1? Yeah. Yep. So it looks like, I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Muffin since he's on here. But I have this exact car. So this is not a new model basically as a first release for Atlas. Actually, hang on, there is a difference. If you look at the doors, they're slightly different. So they have not released this, although they look very similar. So, but anyway, so I digress. They do have this as an XMTH model, and the road names that they'll be doing are Chicago, Illinois, Midland, Lehigh, New England, Nashville, Chattanooga, St. Louis, New York Central, the RFP, and then this is a little confusing. So this is actually one car, the Santa Fe cars, but this is the first side of it, and that is the second side of it. So scrolling down, you'll see that they have a 3-rail option and a 2-rail option, which is really nice because then you can basically buy these right out of the box, and you don't have to convert them. They are offered in identical road numbers, so there's no advantage of buying 2 of these and 2 of these and then just converting them. They will be the same road numbers. But what we also have is, if you look at the MSRP pricing, about $80, that's pretty comparable to what you're going to expect out of Atlas for these cars going forward. I've noticed that they're probably in about the $80 range for box cars. You'll pay a little bit more for the 2-rail because of the coupler assemblies and whatnot. But everything from the car to the frame to the wheel set will be identical to whatever MTH had for the 3-rail models. They actually just put a little stamp over the MTH stamp from the models. So they have a bunch of offerings. Unfortunately, only 2 road numbers here. And then it looks like the Santa Fe Grand Canyon one they have with 4 road numbers, which is pretty cool. And it looks like that they screwed up the coloring because I'm pretty sure these are red. But anyway, let's go onward. These should look very familiar to anybody that's familiar with MTH. The Premier 2-bay centerfold hoppers, they have done more runs of these in the past than I think any other car And I'm probably just making that up, but it sure seems like it. Now, again, Atlas is going for prototypical paint schemes here. So they are trying to model these after actual cars that are out there on the rails or used to be on the rails. And you know they've done a couple of Conrail cars in different colors. I like the Seaboard System one because I like this tan. It reminds me of all like the newer CSX cars. I know my girlfriend would like the Rock. I'm going to try not to show her that before I have to spend more money. And yeah, I mean they have, it looks like 6 paint schemes here. Again, 2 road numbers each, so they're kind of following the MTH road numbering where they only have 2 available of each. They're available in both 3 and 2 rail. About a $5 difference MSRP, and then you have your discounts from your dealers. Then we move on to the PS2 CD high side hoppers. Again, XMTH models. And I actually have one of these in Norfolk Southern that MTH did, and they're pretty nice. I definitely think that they could improve on like the distance between the trucks and the actual car, but again, you kind of have to sacrifice a lot of this stuff when you go to 3 rail, just to make curves and the wheel flanges and track, etc., without having to run on like an 0100 curve. But anyway, so they're going for more prototypical paint schemes here. They have Burlington Northern, the CSX, which I think I'm going to pre-order at least one of them. I'm going for more of a modern freight right now, so I'll probably add 1, maybe 2, depending on the road numbers. But they also have Chicago Eastern Illinois, Montana Rail Link, Equity Green, JW Flammer, Red River Valley and Western, and Stetson Chemicals. So there's a good variety of mixed freight that you could be running with these. And if you're going for a hopper train of some sorts, then you know you have a lot of options to choose from. This green looks very bright. I'm curious if this car is actually made this bright, but was eyeing this one. I think I'm still going to go with the CSX though. Again, deja vu. You notice that there's 2 road numbers. They're offered in 3 and 2 rail, and these are a little bit more expensive at 85 a piece or 90 for 2 rail. And you know, ideally, this is going to be a discounted from your dealer. Then we have these are going to be familiar. MTH has done a lot of runs of these 40-foot modern tank cars. Now Atlas is going to be doing them. And these are some pretty cool paint schemes. So I like this Honeywell one. I do a lot of business with Honeywell, but I don't know if it's the same company. I have to assume. But I love that it has the orange stripe on the middle of the tank and the I'm going to call it faux reflective striping. This is a very nice car. And then I also like this Procore car. MTH has definitely done this before with a different road number, so it'll be nice to see people with the old cars pick some of these up and run a longer train with them. Still on the fence of whether I'm going to order 1 or 2 of these. I do like them though. Excuse me. Now, moving onward, again, same thing, about $80, $85, offered in 3 and 2 rail, and 2 cars of each. All right, now we get into the exciting stuff. This is. I hope you're still listening because this is probably the reason why I wanted to do this video. The Master Series stuff, you can't do any better than it. Atlas makes some of the nicest, and I shouldn't say some of, it's really the nicest cars in their Master line. You pay a pretty penny for this stuff, but oh man, it makes such a nice train. Now, they have never done these well cars. They've done Gundersons and other types of cars, but this is a new tooling, and these are supposed to be rebuilt well cars. I guess the history behind them is that they were a certain size and then they were rebuilt to either get smaller or larger for different size containers. So Atlas was able to model that, and they're bringing that into this catalog. They're going to have an NOKL and 3 TTX variants of the paint scheme. Now these are the 40-foot, and I'm going to actually skip past this and move on to this page. They also have a 53-foot. And I'm definitely going to be picking up some of these. But just to go back to here, these will be offered in 2 and 3 rail. As you see, that they'll be offered in 4 road numbers, which is really nice. And these are not cheap. They're about 110 a piece for 3 rail and 115 a piece for 2 rail. I don't know how many of these I'm going to order. I may order about 2 or 4, depending on which scheme I like. I kind of like the newer logo, but if I do decide to get like a couple of these, I may weather them to look a little older. Uh, but I'm really interested in these 53 foot because these things look huge. And I've recently gotten into Florida East Coast. Again, I'm from Florida, so they don't make a lot of FEC stuff. And I'll be picking up all 4 of the road numbers for these. Um, they have, I think, 4 of each road number, with the exception of this pink one down here, which is a single road number. But ideally, between all of these cars, you could put together a really impressive train. You better have gold in your bank to pay for this, but you can really build a nice train with this stuff, and it'll pair really well with those SD70s that we spoke about earlier. But anyway, like I said, I'll be probably buying 4 of these FEC ones. I'm looking to buy 2 to 4 of these TTX in the yellow, and I'll definitely be picking up one of these because you don't see many of On Track for a Cure or breast cancer awareness cars. This is supposed to be a actual car in real life, so it'll be nice to have a little mixture in the assorted freight to have this with containers. They're priced actually identically to the 40 foot, so whether you get the 53 or the 40 foot, they will be priced the same. Again, all 4 road numbers with the exception of the pink car. And one thing I want to point out is it looks like that the 40 foot will work on a 054 for 3 rail or a 36-inch curve for 2 rail. And the 53 foot will work on the same curve, which is interesting. So I have to assume that they probably hang over a little bit more on some of them. But regardless, you probably wouldn't want to run this on anything under 072. You can run on 054 apparently here, but I run 072, and I think most people have 072 up at that size. Then we get to the Trinity 25,500 gallon tank cars. Now, I've been on a tank car binge recently. I'm trying to build more of a modern fleet with these tank cars, and I'm kind of glad that Atlas is going to be releasing them. I don't know how I feel about a lot of the logos and the paint schemes that they're going with, but they have a couple of GATX. This one's for Owensboro Grain, Soy Power Biofuels. Then they have a NATX, Golden Peanut Company, and then a UTCK repaint. And they have a couple of TILX cars, AGP and Lake Erie Biofuels. I think that I'm going to pick up 2 or so of these guys because most of the cars nowadays are kind of plain. But I do kind of like the Lake Erie Biofuels car for some reason. I don't know if it's the placement of the logo or the coloring, but I do like this a lot, and having a bunch of them as a tandem will look real good behind a lot more of my modern fleet. These are offered in 4 different road numbers, so maybe what I'll do is I'll do 2 and 2, or if I decide not to go with something with a logo, I may just go all 4 in the standard paint scheme. I like doing graffiti on my cars too, so this is a good canvas, and not that I really want to be ruining a $100 car, but it's the little things like that that just give you a little bit more realism in your train. These are about $100 a pop or $105 a pop between the 3 and the 2 rail, and like I said, there's availability in 4 road numbers per. Scrolling on down, they also have this Master O 36-foot wood reefer. A lot of you steam guys will probably like these offerings. So they have Memphis Packing Corporation, St. Louis Refrigerator Car Company, Swift, Wilson Packing Certified Ham, Cons, and Knuckles. Let's see, they have these available in 2 different road numbers each, about $90 a pop and $95 for the 2 rail guys. And these are able to be run on 031 or a 24-inch curve. So these and probably the log cars are probably the tightest curves of the offerings. And believe it or not, the tank cars. I'm very surprised at that. It's 36 and there we go, the 054. That was the caveat. They showed the 2 rail before the 3 rail. Anyway, moving on. They will be also releasing the containers for those well cars that I just talked about. What I like that they're doing this time, and I don't know if they did this in the past, but they have actually a number of road numbers for the containers, but you can also get assortments of containers. So you'll get an 8-pack for 215 bucks MSRP instead of paying $27 a piece. And you could throw an assortment of containers in the car. So if you look in here, it looks like, oh man, I don't even know how to interpret this. It looks like that they're going off of, let's see, FANU. Oh, they're listing the road numbers for each of them. So you'll know what road numbers you actually get for the assortment packs. I'll probably either get an assortment pack or cherry pick from in here. But of the ones that I like the CMA CGM one. The Global's like a good canvas. I'd like to actually throw a graffiti tag on one of these because I've seen a few cars in real life that have graffiti on them. The Hauppauge Lloyd ones look nice, and I like the Turcon ones. These are, I can't tell if that's like a fluorescent orange or like a red orange, but those look pretty sweet. And then maybe one or two of the Ocean Network Express ones. But anyway, so these are just my favorites, and I have a couple of them from, I'd say the mid 2000s when I was younger. These are very detailed. The doors open up on them, and they have little pins that drop inside of them, so it's, you're actually stacking them. And you could probably use these in any of the other offerings when you had Gundersons or anything else that Atlas has done in the past to kind of give yourself more assortment. Moving onward, they also have 20-foot refrigerated containers that will also fit in those cars. I don't know if I'm going to be picking these up. I'd have to look up and see where these would be. I know they say they're prototypical paint schemes, but I haven't seen 20-foot containers very frequently. Not to say that they don't exist on trains, but I don't think they're very common, so I may pass on these. But as you can see, they have multiple road numbers. They even have an assortment pack. And then we kind of get into more of just like the part stuff. So they are basically calling out that they have Madison Trucks available. Let's see what they got for track. We see them advertise it, but it doesn't seem like anybody ever has this in stock. And everybody wants a pretty penny on eBay for it. And I think this is just general advertisements. Looks like they have some, looks like Jack's Lumber Company kit. Oh, that's actually pretty nice. It actually has like fake lumber inside of there. That's a good idea for a layout. I actually like that idea. Then they have a bridge, signal system, little fire hydrants, coolers with ice. That's kind of neat for little details. Control board and crossing gate. And I guess they have a separate catalog for this, so I won't be going into that, but I guess they have a lot more to offer. And let's see, the Atlas O Golden Spike Club. This year's car is a Premier 40-foot PS1 car. Probably won't go after this one, but if you do like the car, I don't think the membership is overly expensive. But anyway, so I just wanted to cover all of that. I probably did a lot of talking. Hopefully most of you stay tuned for basically when this is going to be released. Just by judging on the shipping schedule posted on their website, they anticipate these to be at the end of the year delivered. With the current state of what's going on in the world, who knows if that actually holds through. But if they can get it in by the end of the year, it'll be a great Christmas present. Not really the time that I want to have my credit card hit, but it is what it is. Anyway, thanks for tuning in today. This is 3RL Tom, and I hope to see you again next time. Take care.